shake in the break of dawn. I'll be gone with the wind. Down, down, down. Down, 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 I fall down. Down, 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 I fall down. Cottonwoods, they shake in the break of dawn. I'll be gone with the wind. Down, down, down. Down, 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 I fall down. Down, down, down. Like a leaf in the breeze, I fall down to my knees. Whistle on the way down.
Hey y'all, Kelly Moody here. Welcome to the Ground Shots podcast, a podcast that explores our relationship to ecology through conversations and storytelling.
Cottonwoods, they shake in the break of dawn. I'll be gone with the wind. Down, 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 I fall down. Down, 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 I fall down. Down, 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 I break down. Into the earth I break down. Cottonwoods, they shake in the break of dawn. Cottonwoods, they shake in the break of dawn. I'll be gone with the wind.
Hello from a studio in Bisbee, Arizona, or actually outside of Bisbee, Arizona. I'm in a friend of a friend's cob or earthen structure they use as a music studio. I'm not actually sure how they built it, but it's some sort of wonderful earthen space. And I've been hanging out here for the past few days with some friends and definitely socially exhausted a bit from a few weeks of seeing people and being pretty on all the time with just the present moment of sharing space and time and food and everyday life with people, which is it's great. And of course, as someone who's, I guess I could call an extroverted introvert, I guess, these days. I don't know. It's a big, bold statement for me to say that, but there's aspects of me that feel fed by community and human interaction, and aspects of me that really feel fed by the spaciousness and openness and void of alone time and aloneness, solitude. It's nice to have both, and solitude within the container of community and so on and so forth. But here by the border, actually, this property is right, you can see the border in the distance, and at night in my truck where I'm sleeping right now in the back of it, like a bed I have built in the back, which I use often right now, just bopping around when I don't have my Airstream trailer with me. I just have a simple setup, and the weather here is perfect for that. I can see the lights in the distance from the border, and Mexico's on the other side. It's such a trip to be so close to a place with like a strict direct line designating this place or that, or that these people belong here and these people belong here, and you can't cross through, and what that feels like to be near is really interesting. I mean, we have lines and borders everywhere we go and in our worlds all around, but like borders in the construct of countries and the way that we exist in the framework of that and the world we live in, the world we live in is really odd to feel when you're near it. And how different of a world it is right over here versus the other side. And the mountain that I can see right now from where I am recording this is in Mexico, and it's just like a whole different world. And I've watched a lot of documentaries and videos and like work this past year on border stuff and the politics of that and the social layers of that, and just hearing about people's individual stories of how they end up getting stuck in situations of not being able to cross where their family is on the other side, or like hearing about the Tohono O'odham people who's indigenous to this land. There's lots of different groups of people that are indigenous to these lands, but that those folks have land split between the two countries, and just the complexity of that. I saw a documentary on that a couple years ago, and how that is made more complicated right now, or has been the past few years. And it's a whole thing, and I know different people have different political beliefs about like who should be where, but in the end, it's just something that I feel like is ultimately harmful. And as being in a place that has been colonized, saying who belongs and who doesn't is just like such a big thing to do. Yeah, who decides who belongs and who doesn't? The people who have power often, and this idea that some things should be here and other things should be there, or some people should be on this side of the fence and others on the other side, and there's a strict line that should divide them is something that I think in the bigger picture of thinking about ecology that we should all look at and consider how they dictate the way we think and feel about things as belonging or not. I think about that when it comes to so-called native plants, when it comes to introduced plants, when it comes to land tending, when it comes to ecological succession and warming phases and deep time and cooling phases, and this idea of drawing territories, drawing borders, drawing lines on the landscape that doesn't really have lines inherently woven in it. And what is it that compels us to do that and draw these strict ideas that some beings belong on this side of the fence and others don't? I'm not going to make some big political commentary on it all right now, because that's not really what I'm here to do on this episode, but I think I just want to bring that up, and how ironic it is that the border is something that just imposes on my body and feels somatically like a mirror for other things that I think about and consider and explore in the work of really sussing out ecology and our relationship with it. And we can like apply that understanding to so many things that we wouldn't even think about. It's gotten me really feeling some things too, just being right here, How do we decide? I'm in a forest of mesquite, and people talk about mesquite, which is this plant that's been here for a really long time, as being obnoxious, invasive, aggressive, not good. Why? What is the bigger cultural context of that? What are we feeling somatically in response to this tree that we don't want to be as abundant as it is now? Because we have this idea that it should be a certain way, that it should be like it was 100 years ago or 200 years ago. Like, what do we even really know about that, and why? Why is mesquite more abundant now? Why are we deciding that it belongs on this side of the line or that? And that the line can be drawn in our sense of when we feel suddenly as a culture agitated by the autonomy of a plant in the ecology it belongs in and is responding to. Just some things to think about. Yeah. So this episode's gonna be a solo and not too long. I know a lot of my episodes this past year have been often almost 2 hours. And it's been hard sometimes to narrow down time slots with people to a short time, because I'm sitting with someone and I have the opportunity to really dig in, and it ends up being just something I can't cut down any more than I do. So I wanted to do a little solo episode to just share a little bit about some of the projects I've been doing and just some thoughts and feelings and the time and place where I am right now. And I don't do solo episodes very often. I don't know why. I think it's easier for me to speak about certain things with someone there to play off of, whether I'm asking them or they're asking me, or we're prompting each other, or we're just in like the organic flow of dialogue. But it's a good challenge for me to just record and just see where my thoughts go in this sort of time with myself in this room alone. And it's always an odd thing to be speaking into a microphone with no one on the other side exactly, but yet the potential of many people on the other side. So a few things to share in this short solo episode, but part of it is just talking about the Terratalks I've been hosting, and then what comes out of that, even me just talking about the border, being near the border, and this philosophical piece that comes out of thinking about borders and like boundaries and lines, and belonging is a layer that's in a bit of the work that I'm doing with ecology and plants these days. And so I'll expand on that a little bit as I talk about Terratalks. I just want to share, because I've started my first spring session with that and wanting to explain it a little bit more to y'all if you haven't heard me talk about it yet, or like don't understand it, or have kind of heard about it but like didn't know as much about what it is. Just gonna get into it a little bit in this episode and share a little bit about a couple other offerings that I'm going to be doing this coming season, which is a big deal for me to embrace invitation, because I've been getting a lot of invitations this year, which is what I thrive off of, and what I respond to pretty well is invitation. When I'm invited to collaborate or participate in something, I think about it differently than when I see something that I want to be a part of and I want to like enter it. I'm a little bit more of somebody that, responds to being invited, and then I decide whether I feel like I can move in that space with the other players and people and beings and energies involved. So there's some of that swirling in the air right now. So I'm kind of just conjuring what makes sense in this season for me. And I'm feeling pretty good about being able to hold some space after a couple years of being up in the air about what I want to do in that realm. And this past year, traveling again on the West Coast and teaching plant walks and some of my critical ethnobotany classes, I realized that I feel like it's time for me to teach more, and just seeing how different groups of people respond in different locations. Some locations I've never been to before and didn't really know how to encounter what I would expect, but being able to rise to the moments and being often pleasantly surprised by how the years of travel and like focus on the work that I've been doing, studying ecology beyond the confines of like strict borders, so-called, of what we think ecology is in a place, in the culture we live in, has really informed me and helped me be able to just land somewhere, a lot of places, and be able to speak something to it, even if it means speaking to the voids and the spaces that I don't know, but speaking to the interconnections, or the interconnections I know that are there that I don't know all the details about, but weaving it to what I do know, and seeing myself do that last year, despite being pretty mentally in a hard place at times, emotionally and mentally, just rising to the occasion. Yeah. And feeling supported by community and friends and people who listen to the podcast, and folks that have been following my writings and work for a while, or people who've never heard of me, who were there and came along for the different incarnations of walks that I did. So that year of travel and teaching in different places across the West Coast connected me with a lot of people I either already knew or tangentially knew or met for the first time. And there's definitely been invitations and sort of bigger weaving and building that's been happening from that. And of course, the accumulation of time spent before that, just like, creating community around these ideas that I often share on the podcast and in my writing. The weaving ecologies, this idea of looking at all the layers of the soils that inform how we think about place and plants and community and our roles in place and with the landscapes around us. So I'm excited to do some in-person teaching this season out on the land and really facilitate some deeper immersions, which is something I've never fully done in the way that I'm going to be doing this season. And also I've been doing some online sharing. So I'm going to share a bit about Terratalks, which is the thing I'm doing online right now. And then I'm going to be sharing a little bit about the field ecology programs that I'm going to be teaching. And they're woven together because what I'm doing online is very much related to what I'm going to be doing in person. And then a couple other things that I'm woven into and want to just share with y'all because I think those things are awesome. And just excited to get a little time with you, just me today, and hope that you listen and feel excited about the fact that there's not a guest. A lot of other people do podcasts where it's like often themselves only most of the time, and then they occasionally have a guest. So it's so interesting to me to like think of it differently, where I rely on the guests that I have on and play off of the work that they do to really explore topics and ideas and things I'm interested in. But it's a challenge and a curious thing for me to think about what it means to lean into more of this, just like I'm leaning into some of this teaching on my own this season, and some collaborative energy around it as well. But it's nice, it's fun, it's thrilling, it's curious, and something new. So Terratalks was something I thought about over the past few years doing, and I'm calling it Terratalks, this incarnation of basically a study group where we read things ahead of time. We look at the same questions ahead of time that can be woven from the different readings that we do together. And the readings and the resources that I provide are woven around certain ideas that I want to focus on. Instead of, say, teaching a class on a particular plant, which I've done too, and lots of people do that, like, here's this plant, here's what it's good for, here's who uses it and why, or whatever. I'm more interested as a philosopher and someone who studied religion and philosophy formally in thinking about what informs the way we think about the living world and what informs how we think about our place in it. And I'm more excited about facilitating group discussion and group learning and dialogue where we're weaving together the different facets of what helps inform us on our perspectives. Not that I know the answers, or not that any of us necessarily have the full answer. It just, I think, getting together and looking at those layers ultimately leaves us, after we're done, with a new spirited energy, a new conjuring of perspective, And so I'm starting off doing Terratalks in a 3-session format, and in the future I potentially will do more sessions, because so many of the themes that we visit could be their own multi-hour session, and we're just dipping our toes into what it is to speak about these things. And of course, I'm just kind of facilitating it all on my own, but if I had other people sharing, there could be a whole unfolding around all of this. And so I'm excited about these mini sessions that I'm doing this spring, and having small groups come out where we explore these ideas together, and then potentially in the future I will go deeper into them and have guests. So we'll see how that goes. I am wanting to put together another session in April and May with the same readings and the same themes and the same conversations, but with another group. And of course it's going to look different because we'll be a different group coming from different perspectives and places. And even after this first session and the meetup we've already done, I'm really excited about like how much people who show up for this create the class, and where we come from, the unique issues of the places where we live, the unique ecosystems where we're woven into, and how us contributing those perspectives, really creates something special, and something that we wouldn't have maybe gotten if we didn't encounter each other otherwise, right? So the first session, I gave people readings on fire, water, and disturbance, this idea of disturbance and the different ways we can interpret that. And then the next couple sessions are going to have different themes. And it's got me thinking about so many things, because I gave readings that are things that I'm thinking about a lot right now, but there's a lot of ways that we could explore these themes like differently, and highlighting different places and spaces and issues. And so in the fire readings, for example, we talked about a lot of the fire politics and reclamation work happening by different indigenous peoples in California. Of course, it looks very diverse depending on what part, where you are, because California has so much going on, and so many different people speak different languages and different cultures, and the indigenous groups that are there. And fire is a huge part of California ecology, and so there's a lot of work being done around reclaiming fire tending and how to culturally change people's perspective on fire in a place that has these huge fires that feel really devastating in the last few decades anyways. And there's a lot of layers to that, right? Cultural and ecological health is what we always come back to in this podcast, and you can hear that same sentiment in permaculture trainings and a lot of other places and spaces. We can't restore ecology without restoring cultural narratives. We can't restore culture without restoring ecology, and really looking at all the life around us that we're woven into, and what does it mean for it to be healthy, right? So we get into like, what does it mean to have healthy fire? What does it mean to have a healthy perspective on fire? Do we even know what that could or should look like? And how much of what we think about fire is cultural, is historical, is multi-layered. And I'm really grateful for how deep and emotional and spiritual in a way we got in this conversation. I mean, there's so much science to talk about. There's so much current events and politics and perspectives to visit in it all. But like, often it comes down to the somatic feeling response that our culture holds, right, around things like fire. And these things move into the conversations around water and disturbance, what we consider things that disturb the landscape. We can either consider something good or something we're afraid of. And that really trickles out into the greater web of our world. We talked about fire in California. We talk about fire in the prairies in the Midwest and the South, and different varying perspectives on fire. Not necessarily all the perspectives I agree with, but just like different ways that people understand it in the place where they are. And often, again, the culture of that place and the history in that place informs the understanding of it on the land. And so we're speaking to plants and ecology and tending and human interaction from a place of a theme of elements in this case, and then working from there. So it's the same for water, this precious resource we have, this precious element that makes who we are, and how much we either appreciate or not appreciate it in our culture, and where we're using it, where we're not using it, where we're misunderstanding it, where we're taking advantage of it, or seeing like life blossom in such an immense way from it. So we speak to water, say, in the example of all the ways that water can disrupt and disturb, like being not enough or too much, flooding, or not enough flooding, and the players that are involved in water, like beavers, for example. And then how water is being monopolized and monetized, like in the Southwest, where water is being used for so many mining operations, and the Southwest is being seen as a place that's a sacrifice zone for the progression of our society and the way we know it today. And what does it mean to consider certain places sacrifice zones? And also, what does that mean in the deeper, bigger picture of, again, the culture and ecology intersections, and who really suffers and who feels pain because of that, and what beings feel pain because of that. And so this is what I wanted to create, and I'm really excited that it just worked, and is something that is happening the way that I've hoped. And so getting together and reading these things ahead of time, not that like we're all reading everything word for word, but just like looking at some of the same resources, getting a glimpse at the essence of those things, and then coming together and being like, okay, what are you feeling about this? And where are you coming from? How do you feel like what solutions can come out of this in the place where you are? Is there even a solution? What can we all relate on, despite the fact that we're meeting from literally all over the world? So that's what Terratalks has been about. And the next 2 sessions are going to be on different themes, wildness and wilderness. And then we're going to talk about introduced and native plants and the whole multi-layered political piece to that, and the science behind all of that. And so this is what I'm focusing on this first session of Terratalks, and this second one I want to do in April and May is going to be on the exact same themes. So if you're interested, I have a wait list for that, and I will put the link for it in my show notes and on my website. It's on the front center page of my website. I'm just doing a wait list right now, and then if you're on the wait list, I will send you an email when I open up signups for that, and I've been keeping it small. So if you find this kind of curious and interesting, there will be another session of the same themes, same readings coming up again, and I'm excited to host it with another group of people too. And so I just want to give you a heads up on that. And Yeah, again, it'll be in the show notes, the link for that. So another thing that I am doing this year is teaching some field ecology programs in Colorado, which is exciting for me because I've really missed being out on the land in Colorado and being engaged with the plants. And I'm just so excited about the idea of having other people with me, geeking out on the place and landscape and all the stories and layers that are out in the landscape of Colorado and the places where we're focusing. If you didn't already listen to the episodes from a couple years ago on the Colorado Trail Project I did with Gabe Crawford, there's a lot in there around the Colorado Trail Project and the multi-layered storytelling landscape work that we were doing on that. And I'm excited about the idea of teaching field ecology programs in Western Colorado that incorporate the themes and hopes and dreams and intentions of what the Colorado Trail Project encompassed for us at that time and into the future. And yeah, excited to get people out to hang out with me. And I wanted to announce that on the podcast because I haven't really shared it too many places yet. But one of the first classes is coming up in early May, so wanting to go ahead and give a shout out now. Everything I'm doing for these field ecology programs is going to be through a nonprofit called Groundwork. I'm doing some of my own stuff outside of the nonprofit too this coming year, but these immersive multi-day field ecology programs is something that Groundwork has already done with different people, and they have sort of a way of facilitating it that is just one way of doing this kind of learning, and I'm excited to just try out, the collaboration of being held by the mission of Groundwork and connecting people to educational resources around connecting to landscapes and land in the modern world and modern day. So the first session I'm doing that's immersive is going to be a 4-day field ecology class focusing on the riparian plants in southwestern Colorado. And riparian means basically waterway, water side. And so the focus will be on water and plants that love the water and like all the complexities of water in the place where they grow, where we're going to be. And we'll do some crafts, we'll do some looking at medicine, we'll have food cooked for us. We will look at the ecology from a lot of different avenues and perspectives. That's going to be 4 days. It's going to be in Paonia proper. So you could commute if you live in that region, but you can also come and camp there and stay. And there's a kitchen that someone will be cooking from. And so it won't be like in the backcountry, but it's on a beautiful piece of land. It'll be a neat way to have like an extended weekend education session together and camp out and have fun. And I'm really excited about it. Just like having multi-day days with people really getting deep there. It's right on the river too, the land where we're going to do it. It's Groundwork's headquarters. And so we'll be able to be right there at the hub of where Groundwork does their farming and their other classes and stuff, and get to kind of engage in that community. So if you're interested in that, you can sign up for that class on Groundwork's website, and I'm going to be putting the link for that in the show notes as well, layinggroundwork.org. And after that, I'm going to be doing several more sessions at different elevations as the spring and then summer unfolds. And those sessions will be more immersive in the backcountry, mostly at 7 days at a time. There's another one I'm doing 4-day session. And there's a couple potential things that we haven't put public yet that might get added in some really cool locations that I'm hoping we can get permits for. But 7-day sessions will be pretty immersive. We'll be camped out together. We'll have food cooked, and we'll be getting really deep into the landscapes where we'll be camped out, and we'll take some field trips from that location. We'll have a base camp, basically. I'm really excited about that. And if you want to spend time with me in that way, I'm doing two different 7-day sessions in the Pinyon Juniper forests, and then I'm doing a session in the high country once the summer unfolds more. And Nikki Hill, who's been on the podcast multiple times, is doing a couple week sessions as well through the same organization this summer. So if you want to spend time with both of us, this is a great way to do it this summer. And doing one of my classes or a couple of my classes and then doing hers would also be a really cool way to get multiple perspectives to really learn about a place in different ways. So I'm excited because I'm going to attend at least one of Nikki's sessions too, just to be there. So field ecology programs, I'm really excited about it. I have a lot of ideas for our curriculum as we're putting it together and what I've really wanted to do and put together with all the different things I kind of reach for in different places, like I'm a crafter, I'm a herbalist, I'm a philosopher, I study religion, I'm really interested in botany. The somatics of place in our bodies and human ecologies are really important, and I think that getting time together away from the hubbub of the world out in those places will really help us be better stewards for those places and have better understanding of those places and our role in them moving forward. If you're interested in hanging out with me in person this summer and doing a camp, you don't have to be from Colorado or Western Colorado to do it, because you can come out and camp out with us. Time to sign up is now. We just started opening the classes for these sessions, and go to layinggroundwork.org to learn about them. You can also message me directly to ask about the curriculum or about questions you have about how it's all laid out and run, and if you have any feelings or thoughts about it, you can direct message me through Instagram at goldenberries or my email kelly@ofsedgeandsalt.com. I will answer your questions directly too about the programs, and can also tell you a little bit about Nikki's as well. So just giving you a heads up on that and the future of some of my offerings this coming year in person. Another thing I want to share is Lisa Ganora, who was on the podcast this past winter from Elderberries in Paonia, Colorado, is launching an herbal constituents course right now online. And if you listen to that episode and were amazed by her teaching about herbal constituents in a way that feels so relatable and easy to understand, or if you've heard of her work before, maybe taken a class from her at a herbal conference, or watch any of her videos online, or taken any of her other little smaller courses, this is her bigger course on unpacking this whole big topic of herbal constituents and also grounding it into the real world. I highly recommend listening to that episode if you haven't. It's early March right now. She just launched the signups for it, and she was on my podcast recently, and we talked about doing an affiliate thing, which I've never done, but I'm just so into her teaching and work because I feel like it makes everything make more sense. I feel like I can understand things that feel really complicated in the plant phytochemistry world, that for me as somebody that thinks about things philosophically or molecularly, in a spiritual way, or want to ground it into something that doesn't feel so sciencey in such a compartmentalized way that feels disconnected, she reconnects the science to the spirit, or science to what it means to be an embodied living thing on the earth. And so I just wanted to shout out her course because I'm so into her work and really think that people could benefit from it. And you can use my discount code Kelly at checkout to get a 10% off discount if you want to sign up for that course. If you listen to her episode, seem really curious about her work, and you want to sign up, now's the time, because she doesn't have signups open for very long. And Kelly at checkout, 10% off. I will have a link to that in my show notes, because if you go through my link and use my code, it just helps give a little kickback to the podcast to support the work, because I've pay for the overhead of all of this. Have never done advertising on the podcast really, for the most part, and support this through my own personal funds for the most part. Patreon helps a little bit, of course. Substack helps a little bit, but none of it really supports me in the bigness of the podcast and really what it takes, energy and time it takes to do it. I'm hoping to sign up for her class myself and take some of her in-person classes that she's offering this season as well, which she does do at Elderberry's center in Paonia on the land. So you can look at her schedule too on her website if you want to come and hang out in person. Such a wonderful piece of land right by this ditch trail system in Paonia and right next to some public land, and yeah, just a sweet little sanctuary. She talks a little bit about how she got there too on that episode that I did with her this past winter. I think that's all I want to get on here and share with you today. The sun's setting right now. It's super beautiful. I'm like feeling that urgency to get out and sit by the fire with my friend Bryce, who's over there probably making flatbreads or bread or something on a little charcoal fire. And hear the birds. I've been really getting into birding lately. It's something that I've struggled with. The audio, remembering audio, and like attaching a being to it, it's just been hard for me. Some people are really good at that, and I got this app called, this is not like I'm not shouting this out because I'm making anything off of it or anything like that, but it's like Merlin Bird app, and it has a function to where you can it'll listen to the bird sounds that are happening and help you identify the birds through the sounds. And so traveling around, and I've downloaded their Southwest like pack, so they have a lot of information stored about the southwestern birds, and I'm in the Southwest right now, and a lot of things are migrating at this time because it's spring and it's warming up. And I'm just like, I woke up this morning, climbed out of my truck, sat on my tailgate with my coffee, and like listened to the birds, and opened up the app, and it was like recording the sound too, and trying to recognize the different beings around me. And right now it's that time again. It's the sun setting where the birds are popping around and enjoying the coolness of the air and the mesquites. And I want to get out there myself, back into the to the dust and the sitting by the fire, and go to bed early. And I just wanted to hop on and say hi and share some of these things with you that's been happening for me and that I'm offering this coming season. I have more things to share as time goes on, but I just wanted to say hi and check in. So before I leave, I'll remind you of all the things real quick, if I can remember them. Terratalks, my online study group, offering it again in April and May. 3 different sessions, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours each. And that has a waiting list right now, and there will be a link for that in my show notes, and so you'll get the email for when you can sign up ASAP as soon as I announce it. You can also find that on my website at ofsedgeandsalt.com anytime, but it's in my show notes and on my website. Also, I'm doing in-person field ecology programs in Western Colorado this summer, and you can also find the link to how to sign up for that in my show notes. And I'm gonna figure out a way to link that on my website soon too, just how to get there from my work on my website. I'll be sharing it on Instagram and Substack and things like that too, to elaborate a little bit more what I'm going to be teaching through Substack. Substack is groundshots.substack.com. You can subscribe for free, and I'll be sharing about what I'm going to be teaching on there. And the field ecology programs, and I have a few pieces too that I haven't published on there yet that are in queue that I haven't finished, but I'm hoping to soon. And what else? The sign-ups for Herbal Constituents with Lisa Ganora is happening right now, and you can use my discount code Kelly at check out. So those are the things I wanted to share with you. The music for this episode that I played in the beginning and that you hear right now behind me is by Mandolin Sattler, called Cottonwoods. We've been trying to get a song of theirs on the podcast for a little bit, and I'm really excited to finally include one. Thanks, Mandolin, for sending me some sweet music. I love the banjo. I'm gonna go listen to the quail that are outside right now. These really cool desert quail species that are so cute, that are running around my truck in the morning with their little tufts on top of their heads. And go eat some flatbreads and go to bed early in the desert. Any questions, feel free to message me. And thanks for listening, y'all. And I have some more podcast episodes with people coming up soon. And hope you have a good day, week, good dreams. And yeah, until next time.